Hello and welcome to the Raisina Ideas Pod. I'm with His Excellency Gabrielius Landsbergis, Minister for Foreign Affairs, Government of Lithuania, and it's wonderful to have you, sir, at Raisina in India and with us, and for this very brief conversation. Some of the points that you would have observed during your time here in Delhi, and of course during Raisina, we have seen a lot of interest. In India and of course in Nordic and Baltic countries, as far as the relationship is concerned, there is a new sense of optimism. How do you see India as a linchpin in the Indo-Pacific and a power that wants to be a leading player in the wider global order?
Well, it's a great pleasure to be here in New Delhi. I'm really delighted that we were invited as a group from Nordics and Baltics, which is an interesting, in some cases emerging, but also quite, optimistic region of Europe, European North. And we're here, together talking about the strategic approach from both sides, right? What are our interests in India? And it was clear during the discussions that one of the main things is seeking to diversify our trade, our investment, and as well as seeking new partnerships. And obviously, India is central in this. It is absolutely clear. But it's also very heartwarming that it's a two-way street. That India is also reaching out and reaching out to Europe as a whole, but also to certain regions to exchange knowledge, ideas, entrepreneurship, businesses, and this is really great that we can contribute to this.
And you mentioned diversification, you mentioned economic ties, and one of the things that we have seen in the last few years is an attempt to diversify and a search for more resilient supply chains. There is a suggestion that there has been an overdependence on China, for example, and we have seen this in our part of the world. You have seen it in Europe as well. Do you think Europe as a whole is doing enough to diversify? And do you also see a receptivity, for example, here in India? There is a lot of talk about China plus one strategy, or India's somehow also becoming part of the global, one of the more important members of the global supply chains. So do you see that possibility emerging, and how much receptivity do you see here in India about that?
Well, first of all, as we had a chance to speak here during the panel, so for Europe, we had a very expensive lesson that we learned when it came on to our dependence, a total dependence on Russia and supply of natural resources from this country. Right, so when we had to stop, when we had to decouple basically from the source, we had to pay incredibly high price. And our customers, out of our people, more than 400 million people of Europe had to pay an enormous price because we just needed to find the supply somewhere else, because it just happened so. So we cannot repeat the same mistake twice. And now we are totally dependent in certain sectors from supplies from China. So for us, it is a vital matter to build new partnerships, to expand our network of relationships that we have currently, looking just to be on the safer side, and it's completely clear. Now, what it offers to countries and partners like India is a lot of possibilities, right? So India can definitely feel that Europe is receptive at this point, for any business approach, be it a supply chain, be it investment, be it a market, because Europe is also a good market for so many goods that India produces. So it's I think it's a mutually beneficial thing that we are trying to create, where the arguments are quite transparent and clear, and as many of my colleagues throughout the days here are not afraid to mention. So I think it's going the right direction. Whether we can do more, well, I think we are really doing quite a lot right now from both sides, and I'm really happy about the speed and pace of the whole situation. Indian government is proposing new ideas and coming forward with new proposals, such as what is called the middle corridor. For the goods and services to reach both markets easier and better, connecting our two parts of world and economy. So also India coming forward with a with the idea to become a hub for semiconductors, which is incredibly important sector for global industry, right? Which markets such as European or United States are totally dependent on, right? So I think that there is a already I could say we're picking up the pace, but this picking up is going very very nice speed.
That's wonderful to hear, and I think on that optimism rests, I think, part of the energy in the relationship as well that we have seen develop over the last couple of years. Final point, Excellency, is we have seen the last few years have been quite difficult in more ways than one, for Europe, for the world, for the global order, from pandemic to the crisis in the Middle East now, and of course the war in Ukraine, which is not only challenged some of the fundamental assumptions in Europe, but also a lot of constraints it has imposed on the global South, for example. So that all of these, I think, crises have underscored this North-South divide. We are seeing this some kind of a tension between the global South and the global North. Some of the debates have which we thought were resolved have come back again to the center stage. What can be done to build bridges between these two centers of power in the global order? And do you see that we can better appreciate each other's security, economic, and broader strategic concerns? Where is that space available in this age of fragmentation?
Well, very good question. Thank you so much. First of all, every crisis tests the order that the world depends on, and unfortunately, almost at the beginning of every crisis, we do fracture. One might say that it's north and south. We don't see it completely that way because it might be even more delicate than this, but definitely there are cracks within this order. When things settle, we go back to the basics, and the basics, you cannot think of anything else but values. We do depend on certain fundamental and universal values, which, at least for me, are enshrined in the UN Charter, which talk about the inviolability of borders, of sovereignty, of human rights, and certain things. And I think that when we try to settle down, and this is the basis for us getting back together, because there are countries who violate these principles, and they do affect everybody by violating this. And no country is unaffected. It could be geographically further, closer, but we are tied with this line. If we want to withstand, we have to withstand together based on the values that I've mentioned. So I'm sure that, again, it's difficult in some cases for me to find optimism because, being so close to where the war is happening and, wholeheartedly supporting Ukraine in this very challenging times. But I still do have optimism in me that when it's all over, we will rekindle the principles that our societies are based on.
It's wonderful to end this on a very optimistic note, Excellency, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much
this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.